They had an opportunity to compete at that level and enjoyed and learned many life lessons from that experience. I played sports in high school, not in college, but I did in high school. Now, if my girls had been playing against men at the college level, their ability to compete would have been dramatically different. In fact, I'm not even sure if they would have been allowed to compete at that level or even qualified to compete if they had even had the opportunity to participate at all. Participating in college sports teaches teamwork, it teaches leadership, work ethic, and grit. And it also develops your talents and your skills. I would not have wanted my daughters to miss the opportunity to learn these life lessons. Now, my daughter Cassidy is pregnant with a baby girl right now. She's going to have a little girl that will be my granddaughter, and I want my granddaughter to have the opportunity that my daughters had. Now, last year at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, my health secretary said to me, "Governor, do you want to make decisions that make people feel good, or do you want to do good?" And I told her that I wanted to do good. I wanted to make decisions that actually created opportunities for people, kept them healthy, but also gave them the chance to be successful. It's not enough just to say that only girls should play girls' sports. We need to take action that actually does good. And we need to defend Title IX, the legal framework that gives women the opportunity to succeed and to thrive in sports. For months, really since November, my team and I have been talking to well-respected legal scholars at the national level. We've been trying to figure out how to defend women's sports effectively. We didn't want to just take action that would make us all feel good. We want to take action that would actually do good. And we have to do that in a way that we can actually win. We can win the argument, we can win it in court, we can win it nationwide for all of our girls. That legal victory has to be based on Title IX. And our participation trophy just isn't going to cut it. Let's take action that really gives us the result of protecting women's sports. Now, I want to be very palms up with each and every one of you here today. These legal scholars think that South Dakota's chances of winning a lawsuit against the NCAA are very low. The NCAA is a private association. That means they can do what they want to do. And even though I fundamentally disagree with them when it comes to this issue, if South Dakota passes a law that's against their policy, they will likely take punitive action against us. That means they could pull their tournaments from the state of South Dakota. They could pull their home games. They could even prevent our athletes from playing in their league. That's their prerogative. So a fight that doesn't truly protect women's sports and doesn't allow women to compete ultimately is going to hurt South Dakota families. And if the NCAA did take action against the state of South Dakota, we could sue them. I know we could do that. But these respected legal scholars inform me that we would likely lose at that level, facing the court circumstances that we have in front of us. So we could pass a law, then we could get punished, then we could face expensive litigation at taxpayer expense, and then we could lose. We'd have nothing but a participation trophy to show for it. Or we could take a different path entirely. So today we're announcing that we're forming a coalition called DefendTitle9Now.com. The coalition will consist of athletes, leaders, and everybody who cares about protecting women's sports. Once we have enough states on board, a coalition big enough where the NCAA cannot possibly punish us all, then we can guarantee fairness at the collegiate level. Here's the pledge that I'm asking all the partners in this coalition to sign. The undersigned agree that Title IX needs to be protected and that we commit to working together to keep fairness in women's sports. We believe that only girls should play girls' sports. Title IX was passed to protect fairness for women. The federal government should enforce Title IX in a way that protects fairness for women's sports, rather than misusing it in a way that undermines fairness. The NCAA and other athletic sanctioning bodies should not take any adverse actions against any state or school that acts to protect fairness for women. That is the pledge that we are asking people as a part of this coalition to sign on to, and we've had many people do so already. We're going to hear from a few of them this morning, and I want to welcome and open it up for Herschel Walker, former NFL football player, to speak with you and share his thoughts today.
Hello, I am Herschel Walker here in Washington, D.C., but I want to thank Governor Noem, who's a great leader. And I want to say that I'm very, very proud to stand with Governor Noem and so many others to protect Title IX and the fairness of women's sports. I made a statement many times ago that women have fought so hard to come so far. By not protecting Title IX, it set women back years. So I'm very proud of Governor Noem and so many others to stand and defend Title IX. So I want to thank everyone for giving the recognition of protecting Title IX. And thank you, Governor Noem, for at least asking me to come along with you, who have shown that you're a great leader. And thank you, and to all the women out there, we gotta continue to fight for you, for the fairness of women champions in sports. So you have Herschel Walker to sign on with all of you.
That's great. Thank you, Herschel. I appreciate that more than you know. Let's go to Jack Brewer, who is also a former NFL football player, that will share his thoughts on defending Title IX as well. We'll see if we can get Jack up. While we're waiting for Jack to get online, I will read to you Nancy Lopez, the four-time LPGA Player of the Year and a member of both the LPGA Hall of Fame and the World Golf Hall of Fame, her statement that she sent to be read here today. I support Governor Noem in her efforts to defend Title IX. We must protect fairness for women in sports. When competing in sports, girls should compete against girls and boys should compete against boys. Ever since I was a young girl, I have fought for myself, my 3 daughters, and all women to have equal opportunity in sports and life. Anything that diminishes Title IX undermines the rights and opportunities of young girls and women all over this country. I want to thank Nancy for sending that, and we'll hear more from her later as well, as she intends to be actively involved in this coalition. Now, let's see, do we have Jack up? Not yet? Okay, so we're going to move to our next speaker, and we'll keep Jack for the end. The next speaker that we're going to have come up and share will be McKenna Prouty, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, my name is McKenna Prouty. I would like to thank Governor Noem for giving us the chance to be heard at this press conference. First, I would like to say that I am proud to have the individual and unique gifts that I have as a female. And second, that what I have to say is in no way meant to disrespect the transgender community. As a female, I do ask for the same respect in return. Growing up, I had 2 dreams: to become a medical doctor and to participate in collegiate sports. I have been accepted in the fall to begin my quest for both of these dreams. As a female, I can compete with any male scholastically or when it comes to becoming a medical doctor. But if we are to be truthful, it is a biological fact I cannot compete fairly with males at my level. For instance, my family consists of 2 girls and 2 boys. I am the oldest. Early on, my brothers rarely beat me in any competition. But as we became teenagers, I watched them become bigger, faster, and stronger. It is a simple fact. Dreams like these take hard work, dedication, and perseverance. Nobody wants to go into a competition knowing that they will only have the chance for second place. With that being said, we are asking for a fair playing field where we all have the chance to become a champion. I'm asking those of you who have the ability to make these decisions to consider truth, fact, and science, and the dreams of your children and your grandchildren. I respectfully thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks, McKenna. Next, I'm going to introduce Victoria Blatchford, who's going to come up and share some of her thoughts and feelings on Title IX.
Thank you, Governor Noem. I'm happy to be here to not only represent women in sports, particularly the sport of rodeo, but also as a working professional woman who is a mother to 2 kids, a boy and a girl that both rodeo, and we just finished rodeoing out in Rapid City for Little Britches Rodeo. Our 4-H rodeo is a big part of our life. I grew up 4-H rodeoing, and my daughter did, and my son did. And it's important that with 5 years difference between the two, they had that opportunity to be able to develop and grow in their own each individual way. Carolyn, she went on to be the state 4-H rodeo ambassador and did girls breakaway. JJ, John, he did the flag race and the goat tying. Now, goat tying is one event that you could have both boys and girls do it, but they do it differently because their abilities are different. And Governor Noem, if you had not gone to the national level and said and spoke up for what's right for our children, for our boys and our girls, particularly making sure that Title IX girls have the opportunity to compete and excel in the efforts that they have. I just think that it was phenomenal, and we wouldn't have been able to do that without you. So thank you again. You made a difference. And it's continuing to make a difference by making this initiative happen. Now, I also come to you as a national board member of the National Little Britches Rodeo Association. So with Little Britches, we have what we call Little Wranglers. Little Wranglers are ages 5 through 8. They compete boys and girls. And in order for them to be able to compete at that level, they're very much equal. But as we grow into ages 8, they start to develop. And if you've been involved with rodeo as long as I have, you've seen that development from the Little Wranglers all the way up to the seniors and now into the college level and professional level. But at age 8, we separate them out to ages 8 and above for boys and girls events. And it works really, really well because you can see the distinct difference between their competitiveness and their abilities, that women and men have separate abilities, as you've already spoken to. But I just want to reiterate that we thank you, Governor Noem, and the coalition to be able to move forward with this and make a difference for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. We are going to go next to Don Reichert. Don, would you like to come up and share?
Thank you, Governor Noem. As a past alumni of South Dakota State University, I rodeoed in high school in the late 50s and early 60s, and SDSU in the mid 60s. I think that what we're talking about here, the differences, as Victoria has mentioned, in young children are not there. But as you get into high school, the big differences really show up in the abilities that men and women have to compete in rodeo events and so on. I go back to about the late 80s, mid to late 80s, and Title IX was important to our family. Our daughter competed in gymnastics, and we had some things that happened that we were able to utilize Title IX and straighten some things out. So I thank Governor Noem for her support on ladies competing in sports and not having men to compete against them where their abilities are a lot different, and they can compete and beat them and end up with our young ladies being in second place rather than first place when they compete with other people. So thank you, Governor Noem, for having us here and supporting this.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate that. Next, we will have Madison Bulwick, who will come up and share.
Thank you, Governor Noem. I would just like to say I appreciate and applaud Governor Noem's efforts in ensuring a level playing field for women in sports. I come from a high school sport background with four different sports, and I would just like to say thank you very much for your efforts in ensuring a level playing field.
Thank you, Madison. And next, Madison Sheehan will come up.
Hello, I'm Madison Sheehan. I recently moved to the state of South Dakota to come here and work for Governor Noem, and I asked her if I could share my personal thoughts on this issue. I was a graduate of The Ohio State University, where I had the opportunity to row there and be a part of 2 Big Ten championship teams. Most people don't know, but rowing is the Title IX equivalent to football. 25 years ago, Ohio State had the opportunity to add another program. They chose to have a rowing program at The Ohio State University. If it wasn't for that decision 25 years ago, I might not have had the opportunities to do what I did in college. I want every woman and every girl in the United States and in the great state of South Dakota to have the opportunity to play just like I did. It's helped me in my career, allowed me to learn qualities like hard work, dedication, being a part of a team. And if I didn't have those opportunities to play from a very young age and moving on to be able to be a part of the team in college, I might not be here today being able to work for the governor. So I fully support this, and I hope that we're able to do this. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. That's great. And last, we're going to go to Jack Brewer, former NFL football player.
Hello, I'm Jack Brewer, former University of Minnesota team captain and 3-time NFL team captain. I am so proud to stand with Governor Kristi Noem as she defends Title IX and defends girls' sports as we know it. Women fought so hard for Title IX, and I know that thousands of athletes around the country agree with me. Governor Noem, we have your back. Thank you for standing for us. Thank you for being a voice, and hopefully people around this nation rally around this cause. This coalition will do so much for so many young girls growing up who are pursuing their dreams in sports. We all know this is the right thing to do. And Governor Noem, thank you again for your amazing leadership.
So again, I think there's been a lot of conversation around this issue, different bills that are moving through legislatures across the country. And for years, I've worked to defend Title IX and equal opportunities for women. I think that we need to continue to do that, but do it in a smart, strategic way that ensures that we don't cut off opportunities for women, that we actually keep them open and help them be more successful in all the policies that the NCAA, the NAIA, and all other leagues and associations have and embrace far into the future. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that you may have. Yes?
Governor, this has been so far non-existent problem in South Dakota. Why is this a priority for you?
Well, it is a very existent issue in South Dakota because a lot of people are talking about it and concerned about it. And they see the trends that are happening across the country. And that we could, in the near future, have a situation where we are dealing with it on a daily basis in South Dakota. So what I've proposed to the legislature, hopefully they will consider that they will protect women's sports in the K-12 system, and that we'll continue to build this coalition so we can protect them at the collegiate level as well. Yes.
Jacob Chrysostom with Dakota News Now. So between the tweet of you saying you want to send this bill and you will send this bill to you eventually not signing the bill, is that simply because what you're stating today is the NCAA and the fear that they will take the Summit League and others out of South Dakota?
I'm still excited to sign the bill. Nothing's changed. But looking at the bill, after it came to my desk with my general counsel and other legal scholars and looking at it, which we do with every piece of legislation that reaches my desk, we saw some of the things that needed to be corrected with it and can do that through a style and form revision. Some of those portions of the bill that we need to fix are those that create a trial lawyer's dream. There are incredible opportunities for lawsuits and litigation in this bill that don't need to be there. There's reporting requirements for families that tens of thousands of families would have to comply with each and every year that would be an administrative burden on those families and on the schools. So those revisions would be incredibly helpful to make sure that we have integrity in the program and that we're able to protect women's sports here in South Dakota.
Governor Noem, the verbiage didn't stop at birth certificate. You added affidavit, which means a young woman, transgender, could go and plead before the court to have the birth certificate change the gender. Why was that added?
What I'm proposing is that they be able to use the birth certificate at the time of birth and a legal document that would state what the birth certificate says at the time of birth. What the current bill says that was put on my desk is that every year that parent and family would have to prove that that boy was a boy and that that girl was a girl. They also would have to state that they are free from any kind of performance-enhancing drugs, yet there's no definition for performance-enhancing drugs in this legislation, which leaves it open to all different kinds of interpretation. It could be hormones, it could be steroids, it could be your multivitamin. It's not defined, therefore the litigation aspects of this bill are far-reaching and could bring big consequences onto families and our school districts.
Governor?
Yes.
Some lawmakers have charged that using a style and form veto in this way does not conform to the Constitution. What would you say to that? Is this overstepping the role of your office?
The Constitution says specifically that a style and form revision is whatever the legislature says it is. So if they choose to accept the style and form revision, it is appropriate and it is the right thing to do. It's up to their definition of what they choose to accept.
Defend Title IX now. Does the state of South Dakota standing this up, and do you have support from other governors in other states yet? Who's signed this so far?
It's a coalition of people that will be athletes, professional athletes like the ones you've heard from today, but more beyond that, collegiate and high school. I'd invite everybody to go to the website, sign up to be a part of this coalition, share it with all your social media platforms, because we want more people to be involved. There are also other leaders. I'll be asking other governors to stand up and to support me in this coalition and building this agreement on defending Title IX, and also attorney generals. I think it's incredibly important we get attorney generals involved as well. So I've spoken with many governors already. We've got a couple of them that have said that they're supportive and will be a part of the coalition, and I'm glad for that.
So you mentioned striking the collegiate ban from the bill based on litigation. So as recently as last year, in the Bostock decision, it was ruled that based on Title VII, that discrimination against transgender people is still based on sex. What makes you think that the bill or the law that you proposed would not be struck down by the court?
What makes me think that it would not be struck down by the court?
On that
because I'm making decisions on the K-12 system that I have full authority over here in the state of South Dakota, enacting within our state boundaries to enact policies going forward. So that's why if this statute was signed into law, that would be appropriate. If we're going beyond that to the collegiate level, we could do that. Just know that we could face retaliation. It's more than likely. And then at that point in time, we would have to sue, which would be a cost to the taxpayers, which, based on advice from legal scholars across the country and constitutional and conservative scholars, they believe that our chances of winning that type of litigation would be small.
Can you share with us the respected legal scholars who are advising you?
We will be announcing them soon, but there have been many. Yes.
Would you consider taking the money that you're using to fight the marijuana law that the majority of South Dakotans voted to enact? Would you take that money that you're using to prosecute that and drop a lawsuit to fight the defend Title IX instead?
I'm not spending any money to fight marijuana. In fact, this year
you're spending taxpayer dollars to go to court to defend it, and it was the vast majority of South Dakotans that voted it in. So would you?
That was based on constitutional reasons, though.
Correct.
If you remember, it is when I get sworn in as governor, I take an oath to uphold the Constitution.
Would you consider taking the money from that argument that you're having right now and instead spend it on a losing battle against the NCAA?
So when I get sworn in as governor, I take an oath to the state constitution and the U.S. Constitution to uphold those constitutions. And that is what and why we are challenging the marijuana ballot measure as it was proposed, because it was unconstitutional and how it was drafted and interacted. So that we will continue doing that. But based on that, we also this year, the taxpayers are spending money to put forward programs to regulate medical marijuana as well. So
I guess that's a theme throughout your administration.
What's the theme?
Going against the will of the voters.
Oh, you think so? Did the voters vote on Title IX?
No, that's not
to tear it down.
I'm saying that you're using taxpayer money to fight these.
Actually, what I'm doing right now is not using any taxpayer money. This is a coalition of people. There is no state funds going to this. There is no resources that we're using beyond that. This will be a coalition of people working together to defend Title IX. And that is a federal law that has created opportunities for women that I think a lot of people would like to have a discussion on upholding.
Next question, please.
Joe?
Is there ever a time when it would be appropriate for a trans girl to play girls sports in South Dakota?
You know, there's biologically, is that what you're asking, Joe? I believe girls should play girls sports based on their birth certificates.
Well, is there?
With all my opening statement, I talked about the differences.
Sure. If there's no competitive advantage for a trans girl?
Who determines that, though? Who determines?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, I don't see one where there wouldn't be a competitive advantage, but who would determine that? How we would come to that? What boxes do you have to check? You could see the convoluted processes you would get into.
If 1217 does go into law, are you worried at all about the economic impact that could have on South Dakota? I mean,
no.
Experts say it could be millions of dollars if the Summit League and NSIC and Division II Wrestling get out of here.
The way that I've issued the style and form revisions, no, I'm not concerned about the impact on South Dakota.
Have you had any conversations with people that are involved in those tournaments coming here through this whole process?
Yes.
Okay. Can you say who?
No, I didn't ask them if I could share their names today, but yes, we've had multiple conversations with them and with others discussing what the legal ramifications, challenges are, and of course a lot of it's been public too. There was some public comments that were made after Idaho passed its law. There's been some discussions that have been made since Mississippi as well passed their law. It's not a secret as to how the NCAA feels about these types of state laws.
You just mentioned other states. Are any of those governors signing on?
Idaho is in a legal challenge right now, and yes, Tate Reeves from Mississippi has signed on to the coalition. Governor Stitt from Oklahoma has indicated his support as well. There's several other governors that are having the coalition go through their legal general counsel recommendations, but they're generally supportive of the idea.
Governor, you were criticized by Alliance Defending Freedom over the weekend after you issued the silent torpedo. Now, with this coalition, it's kind of positioning you at the forefront of this issue. I'm wondering, when you came up with this coalition, did you think about the impact on transgender people in the state? And did you consider that using this issue that would affect their lives would be done for political expediency or gain?
Oh, it's not for political expediency or gain, and absolutely I do think about them. That's why this coalition is specifically formed around girls playing girls sports. It's on the differences between men and women and the competitiveness of how they physically are built. It's not a transgender bill, and if you were to put it in that context, that would be completely inaccurate. It is specifically about protecting Title IX and about women playing women's sports. It is not about transgender. And there's nothing in this coalition or in this discussion today that has to do with that issue.
But the only group of people that this would affect would be transgender people. So
May I say something?
You bet. Go ahead, Herschel.
They're taking you in another direction, and you're talking about protecting Title IX. And it's sort of like they're taking you in another direction, and what you're doing is 100% correct. Because what would you consider, and they say transgender, but who do you consider a transgender to compete in women's sports? And it's sort of like I made a statement about a week ago that if they start doing something like this, you can take myself as an example. At my age today, now I can classify myself as a woman and go and compete in the Olympics. And I probably could win a gold medal in certain events in the Olympics today, saying I'm a woman. So who would you consider a transgender to be able to compete in Title IX? So that's why we have to protect the fairness of women and with Title IX.
Thank you, Herschel. We appreciate that.
Governor, just going back to my question, if it doesn't affect transgender people, who does it affect?
It affects women. For years, for decades, women have fought for an equal playing field, for equal opportunities, for scholarship money, for programs they can participate in, and to be treated the same as men. That's what Title IX is all about. And it's being threatened by some of the conversations that are happening at the national level, different policies that are happening, part of the decision-making process that happens within the NCAA on where tournaments go, how it's determined, their inclusivity policies, how vague they are and how they've been used in the past. That's why it's important to have an honest conversation about Title IX and make sure we're having a discussion to defend it and keep that right for women out there.
Would this bill affect transgender girls who want to play in girls' sports leagues?
Transgender girls who want to play in girls' sports leagues? It will affect girls being able to continue to play girls' sports. And that's how we believe that girls' sports should be defined.
All right, guys, thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.